Hey YouTube people, um, this year decided I'm going to take some video of some of the projects we've got going on here for Halloween at the Galloway household. We've been doing this for probably about 7 years. We've got very much a cemetery theme that we've continued to kind of roll with, and just trying to build on a little bit every year. As time allows, and slush fund money as well. This stuff, although a hell of a lot cheaper than going to the store and buying the crappy looking pre-made stuff, it does get expensive once you kind of get into the material parts of it. This year it's early September, it's hot, so I'm sweating. I'm adding on to some things, so figured I'd show you kind of a little bit I'm doing there. And this is not as much a tutorial as some of these people put out there, and my utmost gratitude and props go out there to all these tutorial videos on how to make spooky stuff out of just supplies you pick up at Home Depot. I really haven't, other than tweaking some things here and there for my liking. I can't really claim any credit for the ideas that I put out here, because a lot of it's been done, and I've watched a heck of a lot of videos DIY, and I'm very thankful that those are out there. So more or less just kind of trying to give some ideas for those of you that are either just starting to create a haunt for your yard for Halloween. Never hurts to put more out there, and you might run onto something you like or something you want to add in or try to do yourself. So without further ado, I'll show you what I'm working on right now, and give you a little bit of details on that, and I'll try to post an ad to this kind of as we go through the month and get ready for putting stuff out. So I've got about 3 lengths of cemetery fence that I did a couple of years ago. Prior to that, I had some, I had bought just some fence boards, and kind of had a 2x4 and fence board type of fence, and it looked okay. But I wanted something that looked a little more refined, a little more like an actual cemetery might have, with wrought iron pillars and whatnot. So did watch a lot of tutorials on how different people did these. So this is one of the sections that I brought down from the attic so I could kind of have a template to go on, because I need to add a couple of more lengths. Currently I only have 3 of these panels, and they're 8 foot wide. And as you can see, I kind of hit these with just a matte black paint, and then I came back with kind of a copper color to kind of give it some rusting, distressed look. Cobwebs and stuff, as you see on here, that's mostly after we set up last year. Did some hot glue, spider webs. They're kind of getting yellow, so I don't know if I'll strip all these down and redo that, or just kind of add to it. They don't look too bad, but a little section chipped off there. But this is a pretty simple fence. I've seen some pretty elaborate jobs where people have put some nice accents at the top with little PVC rings, things like that. I did just order online from, I believe it's called TS Distributors. That's the best price I found for these plastic finial caps to accent the tops of these. I'm gonna add those this year, so I think that'll be really cool. And they were like 30 cents a piece. I got the 5/8 inch caps, so I could be sure to fit over my PVC. This PVC is it's a 1/2 inch, which is the inside diameter, but the outer is almost 5/8. So hoping those will fit on nicely. I'll probably take some hot glue to attach those, some type of glue to attach those on the top. We'll see when we get those in. So anyways, if you haven't made one of these fences before, really all I did was another trip to Lowe's. These are 8 foot 2x1s. So your fence lengths just end up being 8 foot, unless you want to cut them down or whatever, but I just leave them at their 8 foot lengths. And then I've gone through, I use my other fence as a template. You can kind of do these as far apart as you want or close together. But then I went through and marked all those and drilled the holes for the PVC. I used a nice little bit, and actually watched a guy's video, he used a similar bit. Previously, when I built fence, I used like a paddle bit, and it was, and I don't have a drill press or anything, I just use a drill. So it was a lot more work, and this thing just zipped through them really quick. Left a real nice finish on the top side. As you can see on the bottom side, it kind of splinters out. I don't know the best way to prevent that, but it's going to be pointing down towards the ground, so I sanded a little bit, and after paint, you'll never know. And then I took my PVC. I went and bought these in 10-foot sections. So got like a schedule 40 or something. That's a really high grade PVC, but this is your real basic. I don't know what it's called, but man, this stuff's super cheap. You can do a lot with it. So these 10-foot sections at Lowe's are $2.08 a piece, and on average, I get about 3 fence posts out of each one. And as you can see from what I've done in the past, some people tear these up at all different heights, but I just ran 2 heights of 36 inches and then a 42 inch every other 2 posts. I put one of those in. It's got a pretty nice look. A little less measuring and whatnot, but you can do those to where they're staggered all the way up, which probably looks a little nicer, but I'm kind of lazy when it comes to that. So anyways, I got some sections started there, 42 inch and 36 inch cuts. Still got a bunch of cutting to do there. And then once you get all those cut, you're just gonna lay them out, run your PVC up through, and I use just little 1.25" wood screws and kind of go in from the side and tack into the PVC, and that makes a real nice connection that's stable, and that way you can get consistency across so your fence is not all wacky. Here's the drill bit that I ended up getting for these fence holes. It's actually I think I misspoke earlier. It's not 5/8. It's a 7/8 inch. So it ends up being just a perfect clearance for those. They fit in there nicely, not too loose. But then when you tack them in with screws, ends up being a really good fit. There's a couple different brands out there. This one was at Lowe's. I think it was like 11 bucks, something like that. I just put it on here in my drill, and as you can see, you just got a nice circular bit there. It carves those out pretty well. So that's kind of where I'm at on the fence. Now I'm adding the 2 sections of fence, so I had to add a couple of more columns. I don't have any of my columns down from the attic to show you kind of what finished product looks like, but let me get around here. And obviously there's a bunch of videos out there on different ways to make these. These are real simple, and they look super nice when they're done. So basically what I did was I used these are like 2x2 sections from Lowe's. You get those in 8 foot, and then I just cut them in half. So my columns are 4 foot tall, and that way I can get 2 posts out of each section of wood. And then I had taken some pallets apart for another project I'm working on, and I'll show you that here in a second. But I just used the side 2x2s from that. So gotta love reclaimed free wood. And what I did was I just, ran these. I think I've got a 16-inch width on each of these sides. And then I just took my little miter saw. You can obviously tell that I am not a carpenter because my joints aren't perfect by any means, but you kind of want it to look a little rugged anyways, so perfect project for me. So I cut these, all the size, framed up the skeleton or shell of it, and then just went and got my 4x8 sections of some 1/2 inch foam, and that stuff's not cheap either. So the thicker you go, obviously it gets ultra expensive, but 1/2 inch is really good enough for what I'm doing here. The ones I've got that I've built, they're probably going on 3 years old, and they've held up really well. I'll show you those here in an upcoming video. But you can basically cut these just to size for each side. I ran the 2 sides a little bit shorter so I could overlap on the other sides. And then I just used like a adhesive caulking gun. The stuff I used, some of the cheapest stuff you can get. Again, you can spend as much as you want on this stuff, but this stuff's held up pretty well. It's not even rated for outdoor use, but it does work well, and it's really held up. Liquid nails, just project construction adhesive. Pretty much works on anything. And you burn through this stuff pretty quick as you get to gluing stuff together. So I think this is like, $1.80 or something, a tube. Some of the other stuff's like $4 a tube. I'm not gonna go there, but glued the panels on, and then I just run a few wood screws down either side. Don't go too deep into the foam, but it does do a good job at kind of holding in place and lets that glue cure. I may go back and kind of do some gap fill on some of these before I paint, and I do some distressing with a heat gun and stuff too. But I did at least caulk, the edges down where the foam meets the wood on the outside, and then I'll run just a piece of plywood here on the top, sand that down and paint it. The previous ones I plywooded the bottom as well, but these go in the yard. There's not really, I don't think, probably a reason to put plywood on the bottom, so I'll probably leave those open on the bottom, just set them out in the yard, and because you've got wood down on the bottom, I don't think it's going to be much of an issue in terms of weather and whatnot. So adding 2 columns this year, that'll give me a total of 5 columns total. And we'll see if that ends up being enough kind of for the yard, or at least what I'm going for. And then I've got 2 big columns that I've made also, and I'll show you those again in an upcoming video as I dig some of the stuff out of the attic. And I apologize, I should have took time to do some of this stuff years ago, and kind of as I work through these projects, show how I did them. But again, there's a ton of stuff out there, and this is more or less just to try to give people ideas. So a couple other projects I'm working on for this year. I'm gonna do we've got one kind of groundbreaker casket I built early on, and it looks a little cheesy. I mean, it's kind of cool, but it's very thin because it looks like it's coming out of the ground. It actually does a pretty good job of what it was meant to do, but I wanted to add another casket that was kind of the real deal. So this is all from pallets. And the worst thing about pallets is taking these freaking boards off. But with a little bit of work, and you get these things wherever for free. It sure beats going and spending a lot of money on wood for some of these projects. So this is just the back side of the coffin. That's as far as I got. I ran out of pallets, so I'm gonna have to restock there so I can finish this thing out. And I think I will do some steps along the way with this one. So this is the back side, and this is here the inside. And really all I did was lay these things out kind of the width I wanted. Just took some boards to go across to kind of connect all these pieces. And what I did on the other side was I took a chalk line and I put a screw down either side of the bottom, ran my angle up kind of where I wanted to, where someone's shoulders would be, and popped those, and then just ran my circular saw up along the side. I think it turned out pretty nice. I'm anxious to see this one finished. Hadn't completely decided what I'm going to do in terms of the exterior of it or interior. I thought about maybe creating a hole or skeleton arms coming out or something. Maybe probably put some lighting inside so it'll shine through. I'd really like to do some of these like pneumatic or motorized animated props, but I just don't think I've got the technical know-how to do that, even watching videos. But yeah, excited about that. That'll be a good addition to the yard. So that is upcoming. Oh, and here I did do another upgrade. A couple things actually. I ordered these lights off of Amazon, and I was real skeptical. You never know what you're gonna get. But these things were like super cheap for what they are. Took them out in the yard the other night, and they are freaking awesome. So in the past, I've used a lot of these like little LED rotating lights that you get at Lowe's. I think they're called like Fire and Ice, or you can get them like in red and orange and purple and blue, and kind of stage those around the yard, which created a pretty nice effect. But I want a little more dramatic, like cemetery drab look. So I'm thinking about going just like blues and greens this year. But these are the coolest thing. They don't look like much, but they're Stellar is the brand. This came in a 4-pack. I think it was 50 bucks. And they're super bright. Very well built. They've got like a metal casing. They've got a bracket here where you can screw them on to stuff if you want. And kind of position wherever you want around the yard. And then they have, what comes with them is a couple of these remotes. And man, you can like pick any color you want. You can have it scroll through colors and all this other stuff, but I think I'm gonna go just like with a blue or maybe green or purple, some of these kind of more eerie shades of light, and we'll see how it does. But I took one out in the yard the other night, man. This thing lit up quite a bit of space. So with 4 of them, I think it's gonna do a good job. Pretty excited about that. Again, Amazon is your best friend. I also ordered I've been wanting to do this for years, but I ordered this Perfect Storm 2.0, and for those of you that do not know what this is, it's basically just a light controller, but you run audio into it. So you can play like thunderstorm effects, and when the lightning strikes, it will power your lights to mimic the sound coming in. I've got some ideas on how I'm going to do this. So if any of you have any experience with this product, feel free to leave comments. I'm going to order probably some more of these, but maybe not RGB, but maybe just like a white. I thought about using like a shop light, but I don't really like the yellowish tint that a halogen bulb puts off. So I figured if I can get some of these that are just a white, and maybe put one up in the tree, put one somewhere over, try to get coverage of the yard, that's going to be really cool. So I'm excited about that too. And lastly, for this video, I've got some candles I did several years ago. Watched a really cool tutorial on someone had taken like 4-inch PVC pipe, cut it to length, and then you get hot glue gun out. I used also a heat gun so I could melt some of my PVC down to where it looks like. Let me show you an example. I did some cutouts and then used a heat gun to kind of look like melted wax. And then when you put the hot glue all over it, I mean, these things look so cool. And I mean, they look like candles. They really do, I think. And what I did in previous years, so I did upgrade these this year. So in previous years, where these bulbs are, I had just put a piece of foam in there, and I had kind of I just bored a hole that was just the right size for like these little battery powered candle tea lights. And they looked really cool, but you had to go out there and turn them all on. And the weather kind of wreaked havoc on them. Those things rust out real quick. And I put weep holes in these and stuff, so if rain gets in there, but it would still get kind of in the internals of those candles, and they'd rust out, and you'd have to go buy them. I mean, they're super cheap. But so this year, and they weren't that bright. So this year, what I did was I got these candelabra size flicker bulbs, and I use the larger socket flicker or flame bulbs, what they call them, LED flame bulbs, and they look like a glowing flame. I think they're super cool. I use those in other elements of the yard. I use them in my sconces on my driveway, and then I also use them on my big cemetery entry columns. But previously I couldn't find any that had a candelabra socket, but this year I did. Again, ordered these on Amazon. I think I got an 8-pack for like 25 bucks. And, you know, they kind of look a little bit, I mean, I could probably take these down a little further, but I wanted to really give the effect at night with the light coming off. So they look kind of cheesy during the day in terms of the bulbs sticking out. But I think they turned out super cool. I'm going to just plug one in real quick so you can see what I'm talking about. I know it's light in here, so you probably won't get the full effect, but so I'm going to place these around the graveyard, kind of amongst some of the gravestones and stuff, just to kind of give it that, you know, old-timey cemetery look. And I think it's just going to add some more super creepiness to the overall picture. So I'm happy the way they turned out. I think the glowing flame is really nice, and not having to go out and screw with the little tea light candles, turn them off and on, is going to be nice too. So anxious to get those in the yard, and when we get decorated, see what those. I think it's going to look cool. I've got like 8 of these. I had 9. Someone ran over one that had fallen off a column last year, one of my son's friends, but no worries. 8 will do. We can always build more later. But anyways, that's it for now. Pretty long video, so apologize in advance if I bored you to death, but happy haunting, and I will run another video for too long. Thanks for checking it out.